Picture yourself in the Oval Office. The lights are low. A map of the world glows on a screen. You notice something unsettling. The North is changing. Ice is retreating. Shipping lanes are appearing. And in the middle of it all sits a massive island. Cold, quiet, strategic. So you pick up the phone, you call Denmark, and you ask a simple question: how much? When Donald Trump mentioned buying Greenland, most people laughed. They treated it like a joke. A headline designed for late-night comedy. But history tells a very different story. Because Trump was not the first American president to think this way. He was not even the second. For more than a century, the United States has quietly returned to the same question. Can we control Greenland? Not for pride, not for symbolism, but for power. The obsession began in the 1860s. The United States had just bought Alaska. Critics mocked it. They called it worthless ice. Then gold was discovered, then oil, then strategic value. Suddenly, Alaska looked brilliant. American officials began studying other northern territories. Greenland, Iceland. The logic was simple: control the North Atlantic, control access to the Arctic, control the future battlefield. Politics killed the deal. But the idea survived. Fast forward to 1946. World War II is over. The Soviet Union is rising. American planners realize something terrifying. The shortest path for bombers between Russia and America runs straight over the Arctic. Greenland sits directly underneath that flight path. So President Truman makes Denmark an offer. $100 million in gold. Not loans, not promises. Gold. Denmark says no. America changes strategy. If we cannot own it, we will stay on it. Military bases are built. Radar stations appear. Runways stretch across frozen rock. Greenland becomes an unsinkable aircraft carrier. Geography explains everything. Look at a globe, not a flat map. Greenland sits between North America and Europe, between Russia and the Atlantic. Naval planners call this region the GIUK gap. Greenland, Iceland, United Kingdom. Almost every Russian submarine entering the Atlantic must pass through this corridor. Whoever controls Greenland controls one wall of that gate. Control the gate, and you shape the balance of nuclear power. This is why American aircraft still patrol Greenland's skies. This is why radar still scans the polar horizon. This is why Washington never stopped caring. But missiles are only part of the story. The real race today is underground. Beneath Greenland's ice lies a geological vault, rare earth elements. These minerals power modern civilization. Smartphones, electric cars, wind turbines, fighter jets, missile guidance systems. Here is the problem. China controls most of the world's rare earth processing. Even when other countries mine them, the refining usually happens in China. That means Beijing holds a silent chokehold on advanced manufacturing. Greenland contains one of the largest undeveloped rare earth deposits on Earth, and a Chinese company already owns a major stake in the project. To Washington, that feels like watching a loaded gun slide across the table. Climate change adds fuel to the fire. As ice melts, new shipping routes open. The Arctic is transforming from a frozen wall into an ocean highway. Routes that once took 40 days may soon take 25. That difference is worth billions. Greenland sits beside the entrances to these emerging lanes. Whoever builds the ports, fuel depots, and repair yards controls the toll booths. China calls this vision the Polar Silk Road. The United States calls it a nightmare. There is another layer most people miss. Greenland is not independent, yet it governs itself. But Denmark pays the bills. More than half of Greenland's government budget comes from Danish subsidies. Without that money, the economy collapses. Independence is popular, But independence is expensive. If Greenland ever votes to leave Denmark, someone must replace that funding. Whoever steps in first becomes Greenland's closest partner. Not through conquest, not through purchase, through dependency. This is why the United States reopened a consulate in Nuuk, why aid packages started flowing, why diplomats suddenly show intense interest. It is preparation for a future moment, a moment when Greenland asks, who will stand behind us? Behind all of this strategy live real people. Greenland struggles with high suicide rates, generational trauma, vanishing traditional lifestyles. Melting ice is not just a business opportunity. It is a cultural earthquake. When outsiders talk about buying Greenland, many locals hear something else. We want to own you. That resentment matters. Because power without legitimacy eventually breaks. So what is this really about? It is not about ice. It is not about jokes. It is about a shifting world order. For centuries, power flowed through warm oceans. Now it is creeping north. Greenland sits at the center of that shift. A shield, a battery, a gatekeeper. The United States sees a strategic lifeline. China sees an industrial treasure chest. Denmark sees responsibility. And Greenland sees a future it did not choose. The scariest part is not that countries want Greenland. The scariest part is that history says powerful nations rarely abandon places that become essential. They compete, they pressure, they escalate, sometimes they negotiate, sometimes they coerce, sometimes they fight. The ice is melting. And as it melts, it is revealing something far more dangerous than water: human ambition. Because in the 21st century, the greatest battles may not be fought over cities. They may be fought over empty, frozen land that suddenly isn't empty anymore. And Greenland is standing directly in the path of that future. The ice is melting, and as it melts, it is revealing something far more dangerous than water: human ambition. And the race for Greenland has already begun.